Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Celebrating 50 years of broadcasting in the Cayman Islands.
50 years of music.
This is Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
50 years of life. We are the rhythm of the city.
Radio Cayman.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk Today.
What's on your mind, Cayman? If you're ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Discussing current events and local news, community spotlights, hot topics, listener stories, cultural and historical discussions, environmental issues, fun and lighthearted topics, guest interviews. Cayman, basically anything you want to talk about, we are ready to listen. Here's your guest host, Charles Glidden.
Coming up next, we get an update from the Family Resource Center on raising children with ADHD. And later in the show, we could hear from you. It's open line, so tell us what's on your mind. Talk Today's next, right here on Radio Cayman. Stay with me.
Talk Today is reminding you
to avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
And now, back to Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today. I'm Charles Glidden. Good of you to check in on the show. It's kind of rainy afternoon here in Georgetown. I guess it's rainy all over the Cayman Islands. Yeah, at least the temperatures, are staying below 80 degrees, right? Yeah, it's still nice temperatures, and that's nice and comfortable. And it is Thursday, so we're into the groove of the week, getting things done, getting all productive, and actually, there's an old myth or folklore about Thursday being one of the days that are more productive for workers. In fact, it came from the automobile industry. I remember back in the day, and when I say back in the day, that's 1960s, 1970s. Back in the day, they used to say that the best cars were made on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the reasoning behind this folklore, and actually was was believed by mechanics and people who are into cars. The reasoning behind this was that when workers came back to the factory on Monday, just off the weekend, a lot of them were probably hungover, like, oh God, I got to go back to work here. Not really enthusiastic about doing a good job. And so apparently this kind of thing would result in Monday morning manufacturing defects. So you didn't want a car that had been built on a Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, now that's when the guys got serious about work. Yeah. The midweek was like, the sweet spot, right? When factory workers were most productive. They were sober, they were focused, and ready to build a good car, right? Build a good American car. But come Friday, that was another story, supposedly. On Friday, the workers in the car assembly, they were just looking forward to the weekend. So they were just rushing, and they were like just throwing the cars together, so they weren't really, serious about the work anymore because they wanted to start the weekend. It's all said to be a myth, but, back in the day, people actually took that seriously, in the States, when they were thinking about buying a car. They wanted that car built in the midweek because, all the bolts were tightened and, everything was fitted just nicely. Of course, these days, we don't have to worry about a hungover factory worker, right? No. We don't have to worry that someone with a hangover or who is rushing to get started on the weekend built a new car that you just bought, because robots are doing it now. Yeah. There are robots on the assembly line. The robots are taking over the jobs, and they don't get drunk, they don't get sick, and you can work them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah, the robots are here. Elon Musk is assembling the robot workforce. Soon you'll be able to have a robot in your house, doing all the household chores for you, cooking for you, making the beds, sweeping out. Well, they'll probably have a built-in vacuum right into them, right? They just extend their arm down and, vacuum the floor, right? But no joke, they're coming soon to your house. It's happening. Let's take a break right now. And when I come back, I'll be speaking with Miles Ruby about raising children with ADHD. Stay with me.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skin care, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Hey, K-Man, we know you love driving, but not sitting in traffic. This Ash Wednesday, skip the bumper to bumper and take the Agriculture Show Park and Ride. Park easy, hop on, and let someone else do the driving straight to the grounds. Shuttles will run continuously from 4 locations all day. Follow Cayman Agriculture on Facebook and Instagram for all the details.
The annual Agriculture Show is hosted by the Cayman Islands Agricultural Society and the Ministry of Agriculture, and is sponsored by the Department of Agriculture, Pepsi, Quality Feed, Ale Thompson's, Terra Vegetation and Maintenance, and Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back. Among the family issues that the Family Resource Center helps parents to cope with is raising a child who is ADHD. That's Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And here to tell us more about that is Miles Ruby, who is a parenting practitioner at the Family Resource Center. Miles, welcome to our brand new studio here.
It's
Good
gorgeous.
to see you.
Thank you for having me. I feel so honored to be here.
Well, let's find out, first of all, what is ADHD? We hear those initials thrown around a lot.
Yes, we do. And there's a lot more exposure about it in the news media and on social media. ADHD is basically a neurodevelopmental disorder where the brain is behind about 2 or 3 years neurodevelopmentally. So the brains of children with ADHD, they actually are structurally different and they actually function differently. And they have a deficit of some very important neurotransmitters, such as dopamine and norepinephrine. And so what happens is, children with ADHD, they have to move to focus. Their brain is constantly seeking stimulation because of these deficits. And so if an activity is not interesting or if it's not challenging or it's mundane or boring, they're going to be easily distracted. So the 3 core symptoms of ADHD, however, it looks different in each person, is distractibility, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. And there's 3 different presentations. Back in the 80s, it was referred to as ADD, Attention Deficit Disorder. But then when the new DSM-5 came out, which is the diagnostic manual to diagnose different conditions, it was changed to ADHD. And unfortunately, the name makes you think there's a deficit of attention. But it's actually the inability to manage attention. ADHD people are very interest-based learners. They can actually hyperfocus when their brains are engaged in the right way, such as playing a video game. Because the brain is releasing the dopamine and the norepinephrine, those neurotransmitters that keep their brain functioning. Because when a person with ADHD tries to focus, the prefrontal cortex, which is in the front of the brain, that typically actually slows down. The activity decreases, whereas in a person who doesn't have ADHD, it should increase. It will increase. So that's why you see a lot of times people who have ADHD, they're fidgety, they're constantly moving. So we always say, don't fight the fidget. They need to move to focus. It's very painful for them not to move if they're trying to focus in class, per se. So, like I said, it has 3 different presentations. There's the hyperactivity type / impulsive. There's inattentive type, and then also combined when you have both. And it comes in different levels of impairment, either mild, moderate, or severe. And that's basically, how much is it impairing your day-to-day activities? Where a person without ADHD, doesn't struggle to pay attention or have self-restraint or to sit still. Someone with ADHD, those symptoms are constantly present. And depending on the level of impairment, it can really impede learning, relationships. It can result in job failure, lots of accidents. And even based on the research, people with ADHD who are not properly diagnosed or not treated or suboptimally treated actually have a shorter lifespan because they don't take care of themselves. So they experience the world differently. I'll give you an example. For instance, people who have neurotypical brains, they may see time as linear, past, present, future. However, the person with ADHD, they might see it's like a collection of events that are just swirling around. And so a lot of times they don't have hindsight or foresight. They have no time horizon. So that's why a lot of times they're late or they wait to the last minute to do something. So a lot of times what happens is parents see these behaviors as purposeful, willful, trying to push my buttons, where a lot of times the behaviors is a manifestation of the disorder. Because it's not a behavior disorder, because someone can have a behavior disorder and not have ADHD. But it's also very much an emotional regulation disorder and executive functions, which are kind of like the brain's management center, kind of like the air traffic controller of an airport or the conductor of a symphony. So if you don't have those, you have chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like a person that has this, when they look at their day of what they have to do, they don't necessarily say, well, I got to get this done first so that I can take care of this.
Right. Prioritizing.
They just see these things that they got to dart from
a
one
scattered collection of events. And so prioritizing is one of the executive functions that is in the prefrontal cortex, which is delayed in development. So, for instance, if you have a 12-year-old, their brain neurodevelopmentally is actually going to be more like that of a 9 or 10-year-old. So they may not be able to regulate their emotions, be able to have the working memory, like keep things in mind and remember to do them. Like they tell them to go make their bed, and on their way to making the bed, they get distracted. And they totally forget that they're supposed to go make their bed because something more interesting came along, right? And now they're down that rabbit hole. Because with those 3 symptoms of ADHD, if Dr. Hallowell is one of the experts in the field, and he has ADHD himself, and he's written numerous books, and he actually wrote the first book I read because 2 of my 3 children have ADHD. Now, they're grown adults now, and they're thriving and doing very well. But I remember the journey that started about 19 years ago, and we know a lot more now than we did then because of the neuroscience and all the research that we have. It's actually one of the most researched disorders in the world, more so than depression, anxiety. And there's so much research coming out because it is genetic and it's also hereditary.
So getting this child ready for school can be kind of complicated.
It's very hard. A lot of times these children also, they wake up with that low dopamine, which also regulates movement and emotions, and it regulates the reward and pleasure center. So they have very little motivation, right? And so that task initiation is another executive function. They have trouble starting things. Sometimes now, once they get started and get in their stride, they're okay. But they need that support and that scaffolding in place to help them get started and get moving.
And someone to maybe keep them on task, keep reminding them to get back.
Reminders, not just verbal reminders, but visual reminders. Because again, people with ADHD have poor working memory, and so it's kind of like our version of RAM. What you're able to keep in mind. And so that's why we don't give kids, with ADHD multiple step directions. Because if you tell them, hey, I need you to go brush your teeth, wash your face, and put on your uniform, they might remember put on your uniform. The others, gone.
Yeah.
So we have to do it in steps, in bite-sized pieces, so to speak. But the good news is the brain does eventually catch up. Someone who doesn't have ADHD, their brain is finished developing by the time they're mid-20s, right? Someone with ADHD, that looks more like late 20s, early 30s, but they do catch up.
Even without intervention?
Well, what intervention does, just like with any disorder, once you're diagnosed, there's typically a treatment plan, and that treatment plan is going to look different for every person. Even my 2 of my 3 daughters who have ADHD, they had different treatment plans, and treatment looks very different. It doesn't always include medication. It can. That's usually the first line of defense to treat ADHD, especially if the symptoms are very impairing, like they're failing school, they're not learning to read or write because they can't stay focused, they can't sit still, and they can't block out those distractions. And so it's a lot of things. It's also behavioral therapy, which is where I come in. I do the parenting strategies to help parents learn what to do and what not to do, because you have to parent a child with ADHD differently than you parent a child who doesn't have ADHD. And I know this from a fact because I have 1 child who doesn't have ADHD and 2 who do. So
you have good
have experience, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how do you and the Family Resource Center help parents who might have a child with ADHD?
Right. Well, the first step is knowledge. I have developed a a 4-week workshop for parents who have children with ADHD, which is very psychoeducational. So what I offer, and I can do it individually, and I also offer it as a workshop over Zoom, which will be happening probably in the next month or two. We're just waiting for the uptake. But what I do is that the first thing I do is teach parents what it is and what it isn't. There are a lot of myths around ADHD. The name itself has changed over the years, like I said earlier. But it's been in medical journals for over 100 years. It just was called different things, like minimal brain damage, clumsy child syndrome, some really savory names.
I can imagine. I mean, back before people knew exactly what was going on,
right?
How people reacted to a child like that.
Yeah, they just think this child is doing this on purpose. Yeah. And so, regarding ADHD, it's a matter of first understanding what it is, dispelling the myths, and then learning all the different treatment options from the golden standard to all the alternatives. And but I do know as parents, medication a lot of times is actually what they call the most effective treatment that most everyone fears. But just like, medication doesn't cure ADHD. It's not like you have a strep throat and you take an antibiotic and it goes away. It's more like, my eyeglasses. When they take the medicine, it takes about an hour to kick in. I can put on my eyeglasses and now I can see this typewriter print easily. I don't struggle as much. I don't have to squint my eyes, and I'm not struggling as much, and it doesn't take me as much time. But then as the medicine wears off, it's like take my eyeglasses off. So, ADHD is more of a chronic disorder, and it now as you age and your brain develops, it's not necessarily means that you're going to be on medication the rest of your life. Is that if that is part of your treatment plan, people, that may not need it. The symptoms may not be so impairing that they don't need it, and they've learned the strategies and the different things they have to do to remember, to be on time, to not drop the balls, and to be successful in life.
So, I mean, we all know someone, I guess, that you say, you're always late.
Yeah.
They could be suffering from this?
They could, yeah. I mean, it's just one of the many symptoms. In order to be diagnosed with ADHD, you have to go to a medical professional who's going to use the DSM-5, and they have to have 5 of the 9 symptoms that occur in more than one setting, like home and school, and can't be explained developmentally by something else. It's like they're not age appropriate developmentally. So, it's not. A lot of people think it's overdiagnosed, but it's actually not. And a lot of girls aren't diagnosed with ADHD, and adults can be diagnosed with ADHD too. A lot of adults aren't diagnosed until their children are, because we know it's hereditary. And but the environment also influences how the symptoms express themselves, because in this day and age, there's so many more distractions than like when we grew up, in the 60s and 70s, right? So, we didn't have all this technology, all these screens, and all this, instant gratification. So we had to wait. We had to learn that slow dopamine release, and like developing pictures, right? You had to wait. First of all, you had to use up all the film.
Yeah.
Then you had to take it to a store and wait a week for it to be developed, and then hope that they all come out. Now you just take a picture and look at it, right? So it's a very different world that we live in, and because children with ADHD need to move to focus, it also taking away recess or those kind of activities actually makes it worse for them, because when they run around and play, those large muscle groups release a hormone called BDNF, and that actually helps their brain focus. It releases those neurochemicals to help them focus. So that's why I remember when we were kids, we had 3 recesses. We had one in the mid-morning, one after lunch, and one mid-afternoon. And then so we had to learn to, deregulate, because all these executive functions are skills. They're like tools that you have to sharpen. And, what works for someone who doesn't have ADHD may not work for someone who does. So it's learning about your child, what works for them, and having them a part of the solution, creating critical thinkers and problem solvers, because, it doesn't make sense to ask them to do something if it doesn't work for them,
Okay, time to take a little break here, but we'll be right back.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Caymanbrac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
This February, experience the rhythm, passion, and power of live performance at the Cayman Arts Festival, February 5th to the 14th at the Hartwell Theatre. From electrifying sounds of the Jazz Entrance Big Band to the inspiring brilliance of the Youth Camerata with international guest artists, the festival celebrates music across generations. Feel the energy as Cayman's Future Phobia teams up with the Netherlands' all-female rock band, The Royals. Be moved by the soulful artistry of Jade and Hannah and end the festival with the fiery intensity of Miguel Vargas Flamenco Dance Theatre. 5 unforgettable nights, 1 extraordinary festival, February 5th to the 14th. Tickets available now. Visit CaymanArtsFestival.com or call 922-5550.
Celebrating 50 years of broadcasting in the Cayman Islands, this is Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back, and I am talking to Miles Ruby about raising children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. If you have a question, you're welcome to give us a call and put your question to her. The number is 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, and 949-6990. And also WhatsApp 925-3261. So you mentioned about this workshop. Tell us a little bit more about that. What would people go through in this workshop?
All right. So basically it's 4 sessions, and each session is about 1 hour long. And so the way I developed it was to first learn all about ADHD and what it isn't in the first session. Then the second session, we learn about all the different treatment options available. And the third session, we talk about parenting philosophies and strategies. And then the fourth session is homework tips. So it's psychoeducational, but also practical.
So, I mean, do you use exercises, or what would people expect to do if they sign up for this?
When I first developed this workshop, it was online, so over Zoom. So I use a PowerPoint, and I use some videos. And I always share all my resources, all my video links, and I share the PowerPoint with the parents so that they can, if they want to go down a rabbit hole, they can, explore some of those resources that I share. And I go at the pace of the parent. There are a lot of myths around ADHD and a lot of negativity and kind of there's a sadness sometimes when a parent learns that their child has been diagnosed with ADHD. But Dr. Hallowell and Dr. Russell Barkley, who is another expert, it's actually really a good news diagnosis because now you know what's going on and there's something you can do about it. And there's so much support and accommodations that can be given to the child so they can be successful, so that they're not, failing school and failing relationships and not able to hold down a job, so that they can, be successful. And a lot of very, successful people have ADHD. Like Dan Nealman, he's the founder of JetBlue, and he has big time ADHD, and he also developed the electronic ticket, which is kind of funny because a lot of people with ADHD think outside the box. And so he found a way to remember. You can go to the airport and not have to remember your ticket. You remember those days when if you forgot your ticket, you're not getting on that plane. But the day that JetBlue went public, in a matter of hours, he made millions of dollars. But on his way home, talking to Dr. Hallowell, he said, was I driving home celebrating? He said, no, I still felt like that same loser in high school who couldn't cut it. So that's what we want to change. We want to, turn these deficits into gifts. And so if you turn each one on its head, distractibility is bad, right? But you turn it on its head, you get a positive. You get curiosity, right? So a lot of people with ADHD are very curious. They want to know why. These are the kids say, but why? But why? Same thing with impulsivity, bad, right? No, you turn it on its head, you get creativity. You have to have spontaneity to be creative. You can't just say, okay, it's time for me to come up with a creative thought. It really demands that inhibition, right? And then the last thing is hyperactivity, bad. People with ADHD have energy. Like Dr. Hallowell, he's in his 70s now, and he has, he can, work circles around colleagues half his age that don't have it. So he has lots of energy. And that's a good thing. It keeps you going, keeps you active.
My wife, who I've heard her say that these children can grow up to be great multitaskers.
Absolutely, because their brains work differently. They're functionally different. They're structurally different. Based on neuroscience, CAT scans, MRI scans, functional MRI scans, their brains are different. And so we have to parent differently. We have to, provide the scaffolding for them. Just like if your child, was in a wheelchair and they need to get in the house and you had steps, you'd build a ramp, right? Same thing with a child with ADHD. You might need to put up visual reminders because they have poor working memory. You might need to help them, they work much better with rewards than criticism and constant correction, because there's another trait with children with or people with ADHD, and it's that they're very sensitive, and so it's kind of like their feelings have a sunburn. So a little smack can be very painful. So they get they feel rejected very easily. They might have imposter syndrome very easily. So,
discipline is not something that you really want to use to try and correct this.
Well, no, discipline is actually very important for kids with ADHD. It requires consistency, established routines, and there needs to be
physical discipline.
Oh no, that actually, the studies have shown that actually makes the symptoms worse because, like corporal punishment we're talking about, and it actually can set them backwards because how their brains work and how sensitive they are, and children instinctively internalize everything. So if they're saying, you're bad, they're going to say, well, I'm bad. So,
But even verbal discipline can be damaging.
Praising positive behavior is more effective than just consequencing negative behavior, not just with kids with ADHD, but in general, but particularly those kids with ADHD. So when you see them doing something you like, praise it in the moment. We call that the point of performance. So they have to be able to connect the dots again, because they're time blind. So in the moment when they're having a difficult time with disappointment, let's say, and they're getting frustrated, in that moment you say, hey, let's take some deep breaths. Let's walk away. So you're teaching them emotional regulation in the moment. And then and challenging some of those thoughts that aren't helpful or realistic, like, this is hard, but I can do it. I can handle anything that comes my way. And then they can come up with a plan that keeps their problems small and doesn't hurt anyone or anything, rather than just being impulsive and shooting off at the mouth or hitting a friend or something and then getting in trouble and just that downward spiral. So it takes real intention, but really the way a parent responds to a child with ADHD is so important. Dr. Russell Barkley, he has a quote that I'm going to read. He says that parent education is so important at helping families accept, be compassionate with, be forgiving of, and advocate for their children. That is where most of the change happens. And when my parents finish the ADHD workshop, I do a pre and post assessment. They say it's sometimes life-changing because when you look at your child differently, when you see this child as, okay, this isn't willful behavior. They're not doing this on purpose. They're not doing this to push my buttons, but they're doing the best they can with the tools they have. You're going to see a different child. Instead of a willful, disobedient child, you're going to see, they need help. You put on your detective hat and get curious. Okay, what's the skills that they're deficit in? How can I support that? Is there a need that's not being met? Or, like I said, a skill that needs to be taught. Or maybe there's something getting in their way and that needs to be removed. So that way you set the child up for success and teach them strategies that work for them. Like my girls, they learn things, when they're growing up with ADHD that they use today. And I'll give you one example. We had a big dry erase calendar board. And with 3 girls, everyone had a different color, and, they would write down their test, extra, curricular activities, sports, theater, all those things. And every Sunday would go over and, making sure we knew where everyone was supposed to be so no one was forgotten, and it helped them keep track of things. And it was a visual reminder, right? And when I know my youngest, when she got her first apartment, she went out and got one of those.
Really?
Yeah.
Just to keep herself organized.
Absolutely, because there are a lot of apps on the phones now, but the phone itself is so distracting. You go to...
I find that. I go to find something else, but I run into something more interesting.
Exactly. Something popped up on Instagram or, TikTok, and now they forgot why they even opened their phone, But, yeah, so they, the thing about treatment, if, medication doesn't work for everyone, and it doesn't solve all the problems, and pills don't teach skills. They still have to learn those skills. But it can be a very important part of the treatment plan. So you have behavioral therapy. You also have accommodations at school, exercise. Mindfulness is so important because it teaches them how to pay attention to pay attention.
So it takes a little bit more effort.
Mm-hmm.
But if a parent allows themselves to find out what is happening and how to deal with it,
right,
you can successfully raise a child with
Absolutely.
ADHD.
I mean, my 2 are very successful. It's challenging, and it's more like a marathon than a sprint. And they may not be ready to go to college when they graduate high school. They might need to maybe stay and do some community college first before they're ready to tackle being independent, living overseas, and living on their own, if they don't go to university. But again, teaching them the strategies that work for them so that they're on time. They remember deadlines. They get the work done. They're able to, regulate their emotions and so they have, healthy relationships. And
how aware are the children of themselves as far as like, I'm a little different here.
Well, most children do realize there's something different about them, and that's why in my workshop I talk to the parents how to tell your child about ADHD.
So it's best to sit them down
Absolutely.
and explain, listen,
just like
this
if
is what
they
we
had
have to do.
Yes, just like if they had diabetes or asthma, right? They need to understand their condition and why it's important to do certain things, like to get enough sleep, to eat healthy, to exercise, all the things we should be doing anyway, but particularly for them based on what their brain needs in order to be successful.
We're closing in on our last minute here, so parents who would like to take advantage of this workshop that you're offering, how do they go about signing up for it or finding out more information?
They could go online to our website, frc.gov.ky, and fill out a request. Give us a call at 949-0006. Email us at frc@gov.ky, and we'll just start the process. All the services are free, and we're part of the Department of Counseling Services. And as long as you're a resident in the Cayman Islands, it's free to you. And this is parent coaching is something that a lot of us didn't grow up with.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking when my first daughter was diagnosed when she was 13, I sure wish I had something like this. So that
nobody really teaches us how to be a parent.
No, there's no manual that we get when they're born, but boy, it should be nice to have one.
So the dates have not been actually set.
No, right now I'm doing it individually, and so I'll work with the whether they want to come in the office or do it over Zoom, and we can do it over lunchtime. We know whatever time's convenient for them, typically once a week for 4 weeks. But once we get enough people on the wait list, then we'll announce when we will be having the workshop online, open to everyone. But you do have to register and just jump through a few little hoops, just to do the paperwork so that you can attend the free sessions.
Miles Ruby, thank you so much for coming in and telling us about this very interesting subject.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's time to check in with the newsroom. Let's see what's making headlines.
Since 1976.
Covering Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, Cayman right. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm Elizabeth Charles. The Ministry of Education and Training has released a statement today notifying the public that they will be closed Friday, February 6th, for a staff meeting. The office will shut from 9 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. Normal business hours will resume after that, and they have, of course, apologized for any inconvenience caused by the closure, but you can work that into your plans that they will be closed. That is Friday, February 6th from 9 a.m. to 1 in the afternoon. And if you'd like any other details about it, you can head online to gov.ky/education. In international news, the Nasdaq tumbled nearly 2% Thursday to its lowest level in more than 2 months as a deepening software sell-off dragged Wall Street lower. Alphabet shares slid more than 4% after the Google parent said it would double AI spending this year to as much as $185 billion, raising fresh questions about when those investments will pay off. The S&P 500 software index has now dropped 7 sessions straight, wiping out roughly $830 billion since January 28th. Investors are shifting money out of expensive tech into defensive sectors, with small caps and value stocks on track to end the week higher. And the Bank of Canada says reshaping the economy for new U.S. tariffs, slower population growth, and artificial intelligence will be a long haul. Governor Tiff Macklem told the Empire Club the transition will mean modest growth and will be measured in years, not quarters. Those are the latest headlines. I'm Elizabeth Charles.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
At HSA, we strive to provide the highest standard of care with compassion, integrity, and dedication. And so we say thank you, Cayman, for continuing to make us the most awarded organization on island by voting us the best of Cayman Islands in 9 medical categories. Your support reminds us why we do what we do, to serve the Cayman community with kindness and excellence. To find out more about our award-winning services, visit hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands. Captain Keith Parker Tibbets, MBE, JP. In late 1945, Captain Keith Parker Tibbets and his brothers formed Tibbet Brothers to build a cargo ship for trading in the Caribbean, which they named TB Radar, launched on August 20th, 1946. Keith supervised the construction, which was the first ship launched on Cayman Brac with the engine already installed. Keith also supervised the building of a second ship the following year, the MV Sonar, which launched on September 9th, 1947. After operating the ships for a few years, the brothers sold them both. Years later, he built and launched the MV Trial on 3rd of January 1967. In 1951, he joined the Trinidad Shipping Company for a year and a half before coming back to Cayman Brac in 1952 to join the ranks of Caymanians who were shipping out to global ports with national bulk carriers, even though, unlike most of his fellow seamen, he spent merely a year on the ocean before turning his sights towards the promised land on shore. One of his personally created catboats was on display in the Kensington Museum in London for many years, a shining example of his pride of craftsmanship and excellence. This was part 4 of his special Sister Islands vignette series dedicated to Captain Keith Parker Tibbets.
I'll be back. I've got 22 more days.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Hey, this is Honorable Minister Michael Miles from Caymanian Employment and Immigration. On behalf of the Cayman Islands government and the people of the Cayman Islands, I extend a heartfelt congratulations to Radio Cayman on celebration of your 50th anniversary. For 5 decades, Radio Cayman has informed, educated, and united our community. Happy 50th anniversary.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back, and let's take a quick look at the weather. Present temperature here in Georgetown, 77 degrees. Winds out of the north at about 12.5 knots, and a relative humidity of 80%. The forecast for the rest of the afternoon and into the night is rainy, and expecting the low tonight is 73, so I guess more cool weather coming. I haven't heard anybody complaining about the cool weather. Everybody's enjoying it. And winds will be 10 to 15 knots for the rest of the day, coming out of the north to northwest. Seas are moderate to rough with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet. Small craft advisory still in effect. Well, for the rest of the show, we have open line. We can talk about whatever you would like to highlight. The numbers to call 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can call us on WhatsApp. Leave a message on WhatsApp. That number is 925-3261. And I was looking back at some issues that were being highlighted a year ago, and wondering, what has been done about them, and of course, the landfill. How long have we been talking about the landfill, and that something has to be done because we're running out of room in the landfill? It seems like that has been, a mantra for 16, 20 years. I mean, I can remember back, 2010, 2011, we were talking about having an incinerator and all sorts of recycling possibilities and moving the landfill out to Bodden Town. But of course, the old not in my backyard syndrome kicked in on that one. So people in Bodden Town saying, no, not you're not going to put the landfill in my backyard, right? So that didn't get very far, and it seems like every year the minister in charge of that, warns that something has to be done, or some environmental group is warning us that the landfill is at capacity. I don't know. Do they keep finding space in it or what? Because they've been saying this for quite a while now. The landfill is at its capacity, or it's going to be reaching capacity in 5 more years. And what are we doing? There was some plan just recently, a couple of years, that didn't work out too well. But it is something that eventually, somebody's going to have to take the bull by the horns, right? And do something, because the population is increasing. We know that's a fact. And people produce garbage. We're real experts at that. We are experts in producing garbage, and some people really don't care about how they personally deal with it. It's not their problem. They put the garbage out, and the government is supposed to take care of it. Some people, on the other hand, are try to be good citizens and recycle. If you go to some of the recycling stations that they have at various places, at gas stations, at some grocery stores, you can see that there is an effort by some people to, try and improve things by, recycling cardboard, plastics, that sort of thing, because all those things take up space. You don't think of them as something that is rotting or causing a mess as far as breaking down. Of course, that's the whole thing. They take forever to break down, right? Especially plastics, and they take up space. Do you just keep Mount Trashmore growing, or you see how it's, if you have taken a look at it now, it's they've got covering over it, some kind of soil or something, I guess. But year after year, the amount of garbage that we produce here in Grand Cayman especially, keeps growing every year, because the amount of people that we have coming in is continuously on the rise, and that means more garbage is being produced. What's the plan? What is the plan to deal with handling our waste? We need to come up with one of those pretty soon. Of course, last year we were also talking about what was going on in downtown Georgetown, which seems to have come to a rest now. They've finally completed that project down there. What do you think of that? I know the Auditor General had asked people to give feedback on whether they thought they got their money's worth, but I haven't heard anything about that. Maybe that's in the works, and we'll hear something about it. But, I mean, you know, the place looks good downtown. It has brightened things up. There's sometimes that you wonder if it was as far as traffic is concerned, you know, the practicality of everything there. But at least the situation where, you know, restaurants and different businesses were affected and were basically closed for extended periods of time. That has come to an end, right? And of course, the cost of living is something that is always at the forefront. And I remember last year we were talking about renting in Cayman and how high it was, people not having access to affordable rents because the demand was so high that landlords were just kept putting up the rent. And, you know, that is economics in a free market, right? If you got demand, price goes up. Of course, a lot of apartments have come online. From just my casual observation, it seems like maybe the rate of increase in rents may have kind of slowed, because I know, you know, in 2025, 2024, it just seemed like every time a place turned over, as far as getting a new tenant, you know, the price went up. And people were really stretched to find a place that that was affordable to for most people, because it just seemed like people could name a price, and they were able to rent their place. And I think a lot of people, you know, got marginalized with that. You know, they, instead of being able to rent an apartment, they probably had to, you know, rent a room maybe. And a lot of people opened up their homes to make extra money too, because especially probably more older people who saw it as a means of making income, and they could get a good little monthly income off of just renting a room in their house. And that seemed at one point that it was going to be forever skyrocketing. But I think it has been slowed, and I guess inflation overall has slowed down somewhat. And I guess the rate of inflation, because there's always going to be some amount of inflation. You're never going to go to zero or negative, and going to negative inflation, well, that's another story again. That's a whole different problem, right? If you see things going, the rate of inflation going negative, deflation, that's not good either. But a decent rate can be tolerated, and, you know, that salaries can at least keep within reach of it. And what about a development plan for the Cayman Islands? That is something that we keep hearing about over and over again too. it seems like we've talked about a development plan forever again. When I say forever, at least decades. I mean, do we know what we want to do? Do we know what we want to see the physical Cayman look like? The landscape, which has changed tremendously even in the last 2 years. You've here when I talk to some people about West Bay, how the face of West Bay has changed to where if you hadn't been into West Bay, say a couple of months or something, you drive someplace and you don't even recognize where you are, because when last time you were there, it didn't look like this. And these multi-story condominiums and apartment buildings sprouting up, right? So people are pouring concrete everywhere, but there doesn't seem to be any kind of plan or any kind of direction that we, as a people, as a government, say, well, this is how we want things to progress over the next 20 years. And without some kind of planning, things get to be kind of harem-scarum as far as, just what kind of development are we going to have in Cayman. And I think there was, if my memory serves me correct, there was some kind of plan put in place, in the late 1900s maybe, where there was a consultancy and how people wanted zoning what the zoning was going to be, and I can't remember whether that was, hard and fast, or that was something that was, I think there was something that we were supposed to review every so often, and that seems to be on the back burner, though. And with the population growing the way it is, it would be nice to really have some kind of roadmap as to where we expect Cayman to be in the next 20 years, the next 15 years even, because it seems if people want to develop something, they just go ahead and do it. And we've even seen thoughts from young people where young people who have they have an education, they have the means to get a job, but they still feel as if it's hard for them to make it in Cayman. We've heard about young people deciding to call it a day in Cayman and going off to the UK. They feel there's more opportunity, and while Cayman has, a lot of potential if you're in the financial market, even in tourism, the scale of jobs in Cayman is pretty narrow. It's not like you can decide that you want to study physics, and you're going to get a job doing something related to that in Cayman. The opportunities are in a pretty narrow scale. I see we have a caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing okay. And yourself?
Good, good. This is Lorna Bush.
Yes.
I just heard you say something that, honestly, I really had to pick up the phone. I think you made mention of some planning things and after the fact approval, something.
Well, I was talking about a development plan. We were always talking about that we need a development plan with input from the people. But go ahead with the after the facts.
We don't have a development plan for the country, so it's probably no wonder then why we can't get even the most common building development done right. Anyway, this after the fact, I read recently that the one out there on Walker's Road near Vigoro Nursery that had caused quite a hoopla.
Oh, the clearing of that land?
The clearing of that, exactly, which was unlawful because they didn't have license to do that. They didn't have approval. Now, I just heard a very, matter-of-fact news item recently that said that planning had now given them after the fact approval because really there's no environmentally sensitive something now because it's all gone. I didn't hear anything about a fine or because they could not say that it didn't have that before. So what I want you to do though, because right now I can't get to it, but just check your news feed. It's very recent. I think it was only yesterday evening I heard something. And I wouldn't want to be spreading anything that's not totally factual. And honestly, I didn't have time to go on and look at it. I'm too busy fighting the public beach access.
Yes, I have to get you on here.
Yeah, but just have a look because honestly, I don't need anything more to rile me up. And if we have a department that would say, well, because you went ahead without approval and you bulldozed everything, so now there's really no value, so we'll just give you the approval after the fact. I mean, that is beyond ludicrous. Again, I haven't really checked it out. Please do that for me.
But we've heard of these things happening in the past, too. And like you say, even if you want to give the approval, even if you're going to give the approval, say, you still got to pay $5,000 fine or something. I mean...
Nothing. So you know what it does? It tells people, just go ahead and do what you want because after the fact, they're not going to do anything. The only time I remember hearing that planning did anything after someone had built without permission was some little house up in Northside, some very ordinary little, person who had gone ahead and built something. I think they made that person knock it down. But the day that we force one of these mega developers to do something, what planning needed to have done there, and oh my God, I will call out the politically appointed, I will call out the civil servants, whoever, if I am right, and Charles, I need you to check it, but if they would do something like that, we don't need them. We don't need any of them. Because what that ruling should have been, you, Mr. whoever you are, some Indian or Turkish person, you need to replant every single silver thatch that you dug up. You need to plant every single mahogany tree that was destroyed and put that back in its original virgin state. And failing that, Charles, I go on. See what you can find out. I'm listening, okay?
I'll see. I don't know if I can do it while I'm on the air, but I'll see what I can find.
I'll do a quick search and send you the link or something, okay?
Okay.
I'm busy, but obviously you're busier. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks for the call. Yeah, that, there we have an example of, a lot of people being upset because that forest was just bulldozed. And, it is in an area that is developed around it. But, the mere fact that so many people reacted in a manner that's, this is where we used to go to play. This is the forest that we went into, as children and explored, and it was sort of our playground, and that's how the old Cayman was, right? Lots of times you went into what was, you might call bush or whatever, but that's where you went and played as a kid. There's no real official playground, so the whole place was a playground, and you hear people lamenting the loss of that forest. It certainly meant a lot to people, but everything seems to be in Cayman seems to be that just let's put a bulldozer in and pour concrete. It's 1:31 here at Radio Cayman. That means I got to take a break. I'll be right back.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
CUC believes in powering dreams. Applications are open for its 2026 scholarship and vocational internship program, with financial support for associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees, and paid internships for students 15 and older. CUC is investing in Cayman's next generation of leaders. Don't miss your chance to grow, learn, and give back to your community. Apply today at cuc-cayman.com. Deadline to apply is March 27th.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
That's what I want to know. What's on your mind? Tell me what's on your mind. And we've been talking about here, issues that just keep lingering, issues that don't seem to be progressing toward, any kind of resolution, any kind of fix, but that we've always heard people talk about, people debate, politicians say that we need to do something about it, and then, it just doesn't happen. And what we were talking about before was, time for development plans. And let's see here. I think it goes back even, 2005 or so. It's something that we really need to sit down and figure out. Where do we want Cayman to be? And do we just leave it to go on its own? I don't think that would be very, very productive and not give us the kind of Cayman that we want. But population growth is continues to head toward 100,000 people, and as a matter of fact, a caller the other day was saying that he thinks we're already there. Because, I mean, hey, work permits are being issued every day, right? So if we're not at 100, it's getting there. It's getting there. And 100,000 people, that means that our population would have grown very, very fast, over the last 10 years. And can we handle this kind of population growth if it keeps growing at the same kind of speed that it has been? We have someone on the line. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Captain Glidden, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just listening to your comments and the conversation about the population growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's high time we change that name from population growth to explosion growth. It's not a joke.
No,
it's not a joke.
Population explosion.
And then the most disheartening, and for the want of another better word, would be disgusting situation to see that the authorities that be just go with the flow. The more the merrier, the more the better. And Mr. Glidden, we got some serious problems into this country with what is deemed by me as refugees, and we're not talking about Cuban refugees. We got people coming in here from another country that just wants everything free, freeloaders, and to put the icing on the cake. They also got a bad mind, a bad attitude towards the people. These people coming in here, and what is going to happen? The thing that I see on the horizon, that Cuba, in a little while, is going to be into democratic or democracy. And then what's going to happen to the Cayman Islands, which is a couple of years to get it all generated and started. But we need to take stock of what we have here, and some of the people that are too big to be told. They think that they know it all, and they don't have time to listen to John Doe from the public. They done got it cut and dry. They couldn't care less. But they need to know that their salary may not always be what it is now. I vision, and I hope I'm wrong, that Cayman is going to see some very, very hard times coming ahead, and we are not prepared for that. All we can see, go with the flow. Money is, going right, left, and center, Charlo. What's going on in this country, right? It is very disheartening. Construction is out of control. Development in general is out of control. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. You got your ministers, you got this. They couldn't care less. I mean, where they come from? I deem them people over fast food generation, man. They don't have a clue what's going to happen. They don't care. They don't. Oh, my God. Stop and think what's happening. I'm not preaching doom and gloom. A little island this size should be well embedded financially, also secured with everything, and not an overpopulated island that you're going to have more crime than what you see now. we cannot tolerate what's happening now. Something should be done, but I don't see anything happen. I don't even hear a voice in the wilderness crying mostly except mine. Because what's happening, you got more foreigners now than you got Caymanian. And, where they come from, this is the first time they ever seen things so good. But we don't realize what a lot of them, they're not coming here with good intentions. They come to get what they can get, and what the old lady said, come to kill and to carry. So, I don't know, my friend. It's just a thought of mine, and I hope and pray that I am wrong, but the handwriting is certainly on the wall.
So you see us going into a situation where we grow too fast and can't keep up and things start to break down?
Well, evidently, because, if Cuba open up, and that's going to happen, you're going to see investors going into Cuba because of opportunity and other things that is beneficial to them. And then what we're going to be having, we're going to be holding the bag, my friend. We're going to be looking at each other and wondering what's happening. And you're going to see some Caymanians probably try to get out here too. Having said that, this is still the best place in the world, or one of the best places. Mm-hmm. We need some people that really should be able to take care and help us take care of what we got. So,
I mean, for many Caymanians, even with what you have said there, this is some of the best times economically that we have had.
Definitely. Because I can remember when I was a boy, Cayman was just another little island, what they called the place that time forgot.
You're right.
My brother used to go to Cuba on the Tanya and the other boats there. They used to bring all kind of vegetables, bananas, oranges, plantains. Had a guy, do you remember that guy called Bio?
No.
Okay, he used to bring things like shoes and belts and, handicraft stuff he used to bring into the island to sell.
Mm-hmm.
How good things was in Cuba then? My brother would bring home a sack of oranges, could be 80 and 90 oranges for $1. Cuba was about to start manufacturing cars just before Mr. Fidel came in and slaughtered everything. But I think from what's happening now, they're going to be under pressure to do nothing else but to go back into democracy. And then that's where I see something not so great happening to the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, it could be some domestic unrest. Because from what I'm reading, the situation there is getting worse on a daily basis.
Well, you're right in certain aspects. Yes, you will have some unrest, but just imagine that Cayman now you don't have electricity because there's no fuel. Things to think about, Yes, they probably will have some unrest because I think most Cuban people want a better lifestyle.
Yeah, well, people can only take so much, before they start to say enough of this.
This is it. And I feel sure in saying that the greater part of the population will welcome a change into Cuba. First, they might not have a lot to talk about or boast about, but time will improve things in Cuba. So we should not feel so sure that the ball may not go onto the other court. So I don't know what more to say, but I'm concerned about what I see here, my friend.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that we have to be careful of in Cayman is what economists call the economy overheating. That, things are, booming, but everything is moving so fast and there's so much demand for everything. And again, in a free market, when there's demand, prices go up. And, when you're in that type of situation where population is increasing, so there's, demand for housing, people got to live, they got to eat, and people want prosperity. There's jobs. Obviously, there's jobs because work permits are being issued, and people are buying. Inflation is out of hand, and the economy overheats. And, it can only do that for so long before it starts going the other way.
That's exactly the point I'm making. Nothing against any individual as a human being, but we have a lot of people into this country that is doing nothing progressive to make this country stable or improve. They're just here like some sort of tourists getting free benefits, while other Caymanians that are entitled to this thing are not even looked at. So most Caymanians, as I see it, they too, as the Spaniard would say, callao. They keep their mouth shut, they see it, and they whisper to me around the corner, but they don't have the gumption or this Caymanianness to say, this is not what we was expecting. Something needs to be done. So as long as we keep quiet, nothing is going to happen. It will only go from bad to worse. My friend, have yourself a pleasant afternoon. We'll talk soon again.
And you, always good to hear from you. You take care. We have to take a break. Be right back.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Hey, new drivers, don't just drive smart. Cynical and Inspire Cayman's Safe Driver program will show you how. Get real-life simulator training and classroom sessions to help you gain experience, stay alert, and avoid accidents. Learn to recognize risk, manage fatigue, and make smart choices behind the wheel. Certified participants may even pay less for Cynical motor insurance. Learn more and register at cynical.ky. Cynical, keeping Cayman covered.
This Ash Wednesday, February 18th, celebrate harvesting harmony at the 57th Annual Cayman Islands Agriculture Show from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Food, farming, culture, and community come together at the grounds in Lower Valley. Hosted by the Cayman Islands Agricultural Society and the Ministry of Agriculture. This one-day extravaganza is packed with Caymanian pride, family fun, and great prizes to be won. Don't miss it. Follow Cayman Agriculture on Facebook and Instagram for all of the details.
Sponsored by the Department of Agriculture, Pepsi, Quality Feed, Ale Thompson's, Terra Vegetation and Maintenance, and Radio Cayman.
Social media, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Interact with our talk shows on YouTube. Download our official Radio Cayman app, or you can log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky. You can also add us to WhatsApp
on 925-3261.
All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back. And one WhatsApp message here saying what we have is runaway capitalism. Well, capitalism is very much alive in the Cayman Islands, all right. And it's the best system that we know of, but sometimes, like right now, when we're talking about an economy that's possibly overheating, things can get, out of hand as far as the ordinary person is concerned. It's not so much that we're not saying capitalism is bad, because what other system is better? And there might be those that say, well, a little socialism mixed in with the capitalism is good to take care of people who fall through the cracks, and to have a safety net for those who need help, especially people like the elderly and so forth. But the basis of any kind of prosperity that people can hope to get is, based in a capitalist system. And sometimes it comes down, it seems, to survival of the fittest, but certainly capitalism is a system that offers upward mobility. People can start out in life and not born with a silver spoon in their mouth, right? But they can work towards getting a silver spoon, if you want to think of it in those terms. There's always the opportunity to try and improve ourselves, and there's many a story of people born into situations where they had no wealth. They weren't brought up in a wealthy home, not in the best of conditions, but because of their own drive, their own ambitions, they set a course for themselves and took matters into their hands, that they were going to, succeed and make a better life for themselves. And I think that's one thing that we have to make sure that we do in Cayman, is that we prepare our children to be able to survive and make a success of themselves in the Cayman of, this 21st century. And we have to make sure that our education system is preparing people for the opportunities that are in Cayman. As I was mentioning before, the job opportunities, even business opportunities in Cayman, are not as wide as they are in bigger societies, where the opportunities have a much broader spectrum than what we see here in Cayman, as far as financial services, tourism. There's, of course, government, and government, what is the largest employer in the Cayman Islands. And I think one of the reasons of that is because there's more of a variety of jobs within government service than you would find in the greater society. And not everyone is cut out to be a lawyer or an accountant. They may be academically inclined, but at the same time, that is not what they would like to do. Of course, if we make those kind of choices in life, that we would rather do something where there is not a job opportunity in Cayman, we find that we have to go somewhere else. And I've known a few. I've known a few people who have taken that route. But overall, this program that the government is on now about coordinating educational opportunities with work opportunities in Cayman makes a lot of sense. Because if you're going to give someone money to go to school, and even though you're requiring them to come back to Cayman, what they're educated in has to be something that fits in with what the available opportunities are in Cayman. Otherwise, you're educated, but you can't find a job, or you have to take a job that is other than what you've been trained for, what you have been educated for. We have a caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon to you, Charles.
Mickey, how are you doing?
I just fine, sir. Listening to the phone and music going by, and then my orchestra clicking at the same time. What a cacophony. Charles.
Yeah.
I'm surprised a brilliant person like you have realized how simple the system is. That's a political football. The garbage dump, you rightly say, it's been going on for years.
Yeah?
Years and years. I remember a friend of mine passed away now, some 20-odd years ago, a bit before when it ended. He was packaging the empty boxes, had them folded, crushed, packed on pallets, well done and well organized. Mm-hmm. And then they'd ship them out, the trucks, take them to this is way over 20 years ago. Way. Over 25 years. And what happened? Some little bad boys came in one night, lit the pallets of fire, and that's it. That ended it. Didn't make any sense anymore. It was costing them too much. They used to get the pallets quite cheaply from people with poor beers and whatever. Different things coming on pallets. Was leaving in
recycling.
Yes, and that ended. We have to understand. I'm not saying a politician did that by any means. Politics works in the Caribbean, and we are part of the Caribbean, I assume, geographically, anyhow. And sometimes mentally or with how we think. That it's not what I do while I'm in my term or didn't do. It's when the time comes for elections that I get the focus, people to focus on what the other guy didn't do when he said he was going to do it. Which we know many times there are forces out there that you can't carry out your aspirations or what you put in your manifesto. That's why if I was ever running for politics, which never would be, I would not have a manifesto at all. I would do what I say, go around, have the political meetings and tell you this is what I'm going to do. And you write it down. The major thing is you can't focus on too many little issues. And that's a big problem. But that's what it is. So you focus the people's attention and get them to focus on what the guy didn't do. They go home with that and say, you know something, he's right or she's right or whatever. And that's the way we are voted. I'm giving you my personal opinion.
Of course.
Whether I voted that way or didn't vote that way is immaterial. I'm showing you what the system is. And I refuse to move from that. I'll stand by that. So we'll find things, major things that aren't done. We take the health insurance issue, number one issue. 28 years. And we're still battling around and bidding around and Tom.
Yeah, you see the new chairman, Mickey. You see you talking about things just remaining the same. That the new chairman of the health services.
Yes.
Said,
I don't know who it is.
Tim Ridley.
I'm Tim Ridley. Yes, a good person, an accountant. I think he's an accountant.
No, attorney. But he was there before.
It's the same thing, really.
And he's finding the same things that he left there. the same problems that he had to deal with before.
Yes. This is what I'm saying. It remains that way for one powerful reason also. And that is because we have no direct income tax. So no one is really, truly held accountable. Because you can say, well, I didn't say so. I didn't do this. I didn't report it to government, this amount of money. Even though you didn't steal nothing, but you know that something is wrong, some figures are wrong, and you know that it is an impossible, unworkable situation, the health insurance bit for the private sector here. But you still, let it go along.
Listen, I got to jump in on you, though. I got to jump in.
Yeah.
It's 2 o'clock.
Understand. It's 2 o'clock. I can hold on, if that's okay.
All right, we got you and another caller. Hang in. We got to go to the newsroom right now.
This is the People's Radio Station. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market.
With your latest headlines, I'm Elizabeth Charles. The Ministry of Health is saluting a Caymanian, quote, son of the soil, now leading a U.S. hospital. Bontown native Dr. Joel Rose has been appointed Chief Medical Officer and Vice President of Medical Affairs at UNC Health Wayne in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Officials say his achievement showcases Caymanian excellence on the global healthcare stage. In international news, the United States and Russia have agreed to restore direct military talks for the first time since 2021. The U.S. European Command says the deal emerged today from peace talks on Ukraine in the UAE capital. The U.S. military says the channel will help avoid miscalculation and escalation between the two powers. Meanwhile, the New START nuclear treaty has expired, leaving no limits on the world's two largest nuclear stockpiles for the first time in more than 50 years. The Kremlin says it regrets the lapse, warning it could trigger a new arms race. President Trump says any replacement deal must include China, something Beijing has refused. Hedge funds jumped into a volatile January and came out ahead. A JP Morgan client note says global hedge fund performance rose 2.2% last month, driven by U.S. military action in Venezuela, uncertainty over the Federal Reserve's independence, and a cold snap that sent natural gas prices surging 140% in just 8 days. Those are the latest headlines. I'm Elizabeth Charles.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
Welcome back. A quick look at the weather. 78 degrees here in Georgetown with winds out of the north at 12 knots. And the forecast is calling for rain right through tonight. And winds out of the north to northwest at 10 to 15 knots with higher gusts. And seas moderate to rough with wave heights at 4 to 6 feet. And small craft advisory is in effect. We've got a caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello.
Chalo.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. No, I thought Mickey was still on the line holding on.
We lost him apparently, but he'll call back.
You can't lose, Mickey. Okay. So I just talk about the development plan, so let me chime in for a second.
Yeah, you're an expert.
But no. I wouldn't say an expert, but I have quite a bit of experience.
Okay.
Just a little bit of history. Back in the early 1930s, I think it was 32, but I was trying to be corrected. We had a regional planning law. I think also had a regional planning board.
Mm.
Then 1969, we had United Nations who did the interim draft development plan. And at that time, they had a bypass, again, from West Bay to East End. And now, if you look at what we have built so far, that's basically following that alignment, except for some areas where development has occurred, and it'd be cheaper to go around as opposed to purchase and demolish.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had the 1975 development plan, which is supposed to be reviewed every 5 years. It was reviewed on several occasions between 75 and 1997. It was tweaked a little bit, but not that much.
So the last time we looked at it was 97.
Yes. The first official development plan for the islands was 1975. Okay. And that was amended in 1997. And since that, there have been numerous attempts, but nothing has been approved in Parliament. Then again, recently now, they've started to do a review of the 1997 plan, and phase one of that, this was kicked off in earnest in March of March of 24. So it's almost 2 years now since phase one, which should have taken a minimum of 1 year or less, and that's already almost 2 years behind schedule.
So is it up to our MPs, to the government rather, to really bring this forward and say let's do a review? Is it?
Yes, but again, the CPA, Central Planning Authority, Planning Board, whatever, they can sort of do it on their own, but ultimately it has to go to cabinet. Cabinet approves it or rejects it. If they approve it, then they take it to the LA for approval. Then it becomes the official development plan. Now, there are a number of suggestions, rumors as to why we haven't had any meaningful reviews of the plan,
such as
since 1997 or 75, really.
So what are some of the things that people say is holding it up?
Well, if you have a plan, you either follow it or you amend it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are saying, and I would tend to agree with them to an extent, again, because it is the politicians that the administration that's in power at the time, it's up to them to take whatever amendments to Parliament. So I am somewhat on the same train that says the reason why we don't have a plan is so that you allow the private sector to do basically as they want, because under our current regulations, which really haven't changed that much since 1975, 75 to 2025, that's what, 50 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
so what are some of the main features of a development plan?
Well, it depends on the jurisdiction. Our development plan primarily dealt with the built environment. Other jurisdictions have things such as population. Our 1975 proposed development plan addressed things such as education, health, housing. Again,
it's quite extensive.
So what that 75 proposed development plan did was to do a framework that enabled then the various ministries responsible for certain subjects, such as education, for example. You had some broad goals within the plan, and then you could have had then the Minister of Education take those and then develop their own plan based on the overall objectives and goals in the 1975 plan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something similar to what the 2008, what's that called again? Vision 2008.
Right. That seems to have just been put on the shelf too.
Oh, definitely. So we definitely do need that plan. I am hoping that the current administration does take, whether it's the bull or the cow, but to take something by the horns and do something, because we just can't continue with this laissez-faire development. No, we cannot.
Is zoning a big thing in a plan like that?
Isn't that right? Sorry?
I was asking, is zoning, is that a big item in any kind of development plan, especially when you're talking about the physical development?
Yes. And zoning has its pros and cons. Ours, I think, probably has some more, a bit of each. But for example, if you zone something for residential, then what you're creating is just a purely residential community.
Mm-hmm.
And then for them to get their, go on with their daily life, whether it's going shopping, going to school, daycare, going to work, they have to get into their vehicle and go elsewhere. Hence the build-up of traffic on our roads. And NRA cannot build them fast enough before they are,
full.
they lose the ability to address the issue that they were built for. But zoning, yes. Now, what a number of jurisdictions have done is create what they call a multi-purpose zoning.
Mixed use?
Mixed use, yes. So whereby persons do have to leave their neighborhood
to
go to take their children to school, go to work, go to shop. They can do a lot of basic daily chores right within their own community. And that has really worked well in a number of jurisdictions.
It sounds like it would.
Yes. I said again, the reason why we haven't had any administration that has the gumption to bring in a development plan. It really beats me, and I think that the theories that a number of persons are postulating is if we do that, that's going to tie our hands. And no politician wants their hands to be tied too much. I hope I'm wrong, like your previous caller was saying, Mr. Orman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, Chalo, we definitely need. Now, again, us Caymanians, voters, we just can't wait until election time to go and talk to our MPs. You have to be continuously behind them to get what is that you want and they promise that they're going to do.
Right.
Because
and you keep at them while they're in Parliament, because that's when they can get something done.
Yes.
Election time, they might get back in again.
You know what I mean? But I mean, they're our servants.
Right.
Yep. We pay their salaries. And we have to keep reminding them of that. And not because you voted for X, that everything X proposes to do or not do means that that is the right thing to do. They gained your confidence for you to vote for them because of what they promised. So, and you apparently agreed with their promise at that time. That's why you voted for them. So make sure that they stick to their promises. Now, mind you, things change and you have to adapt to that. So you tweak as you go, but we have to be continually at them. As they say, the democratic process is a living process. You have to keep going at it. Nothing that's going to happen by itself. And change does not really happen by itself. There are some factors that really build into that, and it's usually something from the grassroots.
Exactly. The change usually comes from the people.
Right. The major changes that have occurred in the world, and even if you want to look at the U.S., so again, I don't want to compare ourselves to the U.S. because the smallest town in the U.S. is probably bigger than us. But look at what has caused some of the major changes there.
Oh, yeah.
Grassroots. Something that you brought up a number of subjects, but I'm going to address them all. But I'll not eat other people's lunch, so I'll give some other people time to get on. But looking at the revitalization of Georgetown, I did a plan for that back in 2014. And one of the proposals was just to make Cardinal Avenue a pedestrianized route, and only vehicles only be allowed for servicing, etc., etc. Now, I don't hear many people complaining about now how it has disrupted the vehicular traffic, but it could be a lot more engaging and beneficial if it was used more often as a marketplace, as opposed to just being there and you have the jewelry stores.
Mm.
It has to be some more life downtown.
Yeah. Vitality.
Yes, it could address that issue, but we need a special set of regulations. We need a different board, a different authority to look at how to revitalize downtown. A few months ago, I think it was an application for 3 restaurants downtown, but it was refused because they couldn't provide the parking.
Yeah.
Of course, they can't provide the parking downtown because there's not. But
I think we need a parking structure.
Yeah, but if the majority of your customers will be pedestrians, all you need is space for your source vehicles to come and bring your
supplies.
Your supplies. So no, we need a special set of regulations, and I had drafted an outline that could be developed, but we can't use the same regulations that we use for other parts of the island and expect for those to work for downtown.
Glidden, I got to jump in on you because I got to get a break in here, but always good to hear from you, man.
Likewise, Charlotte. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity, and I wish all residents a happy day and safe time to come.
Until later.
Good, man. Bye for now.
Take care. I know we have a caller in the line, but I've got to take a break. Stay with me.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer. Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back. And before I go to the phone lines, let me just read this WhatsApp message here. It says, good afternoon. I hear your comments about Cayman's pace of economic growth and the economy overheating. Well, if this government does not make the Plan Cayman long-term development plan a priority, then they will be aggravating the damage to our islands. Future generations may not forgive them for this negligence. Just look at the population growth and Caymanians now being in the minority in these islands, and the traffic congestions, just 2 examples. Let's go to the phone lines. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon again.
You're back.
Yes, sir. Back. I agree with you. It's always good to hear my good friend Glidden there on the line. And we've got to apply that same analogy to the private sector, with reminding them that, take for instance, a little guy working for a big, powerful private sector company. He could go to the boss and say, remember, I pay your salary. He'll go to a job tomorrow. There are thousands of people waiting to take his job from abroad, and some here who are not imported people who are not working, and they grab up that job and so forth. It's the same thing if we go to we won't be fired. It can't be fired as a Caymanian. It'll be a Caymanian. But the point I'm making is we forget one thing again, besides the direct income tax difference, is that we don't have any labor unions here. We have never really been allowed, so to speak, to have one. And that makes a major difference in bargaining with a powerful private sector. If you don't think so, I believe you're not willing to face the truth. that is just, as I said, there are things that will not change. And we have not seen any real change in them. As you said, Mr. Tim Ritter said, a very smart man. And this is where we're at. There are things that need to be changed, won't be changed. That is my belief. It'll continue on like that. And we really don't have the power. They really don't have that drive to do it, because we who would know what things were and know how things could have been or should have been, we're getting older and we're getting tired of trying. An elected district council, to me, would be the right thing. They're elected on a sort of quasi parliament, so to speak, which other countries have it. They call it a senate sometimes and stuff differently. But in reality, we're not going to see very much change to many things. We've got to understand, and again, I stand by what I'm saying. It's my opinion. One of the reasons why you see Cayman so successful, or appears to be successful, is that we are awash with money. We know that. There's no use trying to sidestep that and say, no. We are awash with money here. And many people have realized this is the way we can latch on to some of that money and we'll survive. So that's what's happening. I remember doing cars with my little detail shop in Miami for a group of lawyers. And I asked them, really, what makes a good lawyer? We often heard lawyers are good liars, etc., etc. He said, the ability to make the illegal to appear legal and actually make it seem to be right. And also, as a defense lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, to make a witness begin to doubt themselves, even when they know they're speaking the truth. Once you have that guy starting to doubt and fidget and wonder whether he's speaking the truth, so he said, there you have your case wrapped up. So that's what it's all about, appearances. And I guess he was right. But we've got issues, the health insurance issue. I see some kind of a movement towards straightening it out for the private sector I'm talking about. And it's a big issue, as we know. And the dumb thing, it will eventually straighten itself out. And we're still putting garbage there. And we will put more garbage there. And we will pile up a higher place. And we will see how much more beautiful that looks on the trash itself. That here we've got to admit that, with the nice things growing over it and et cetera.
You mean our little Mount Trashmore? Is that what you...
Yes, you see how much better it looks each day. It's covered over nice, green from afar.
Looks like a real hill now.
Yes, we make artificial lakes. We'll make artificial mountains. That's, I guess, the concept with that. But anyway, Charles, thanks for giving me the time. But as I said, the more things appear to change, the more they remain the same, And that's what our basis is. And we'll continue like this. I don't really see any big change in any administration. And we can't really blame them. It's the system, and you fall into that system. And as I said, we're awash with money. So the hope is that will solve every issue, I guess. That's my opinion. Thank you so very much for listening to me.
All right, Mickey. You take care. Have a good afternoon. And let me get this WhatsApp message in here. This one is saying, competition is the fundamental base of capitalism, a society controlled by institutions. To help is the fundamental basis of socialism, a society controlled by government. Which is better? Well, Which is better? That's it for me. Thank you all for tuning in to Talk Today, and thank you to all the callers for calling in and making your contribution. You all have a good afternoon. I'm Charles Glidden. One love.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.